South Carolina pastor Danny Banks is going to rant about his moral code here. So let's play a game where you guys see if you can spot any part of this that actually has anything to do with morality.
Web. He who eats of their eggs die, and from that which is crushed a viper breaks even out. Listen to this. Lies and philosophies are hatched out through the incubators. It's called materialism, humanism, secular humanism, New Age movement, liberalism that has been read and spoke across America through the television, airways, and radio that is constantly being held. It's like a viper's egg. Notice how Isaiah pronounced it. You know, viper in the days of the Old Testament was a very poisonous snake. Remember when even the Apostle Paul was bit by a viper on the island when he was shipwrecked, and they thought he would die. They actually sat there and waited for him to die because most people died. And of course, God intervened and stopped it because He could preach to these bunch of heathens. But that's the point. You see, a viper is a very dangerous thing. I know people who wouldn't ever think at all let their little children go play with a bunch of cobras or rattlesnakes. But they put them in environments every day, and the vipers are all around them, striking of what we believe, teaching them immorality. Sex education today doesn't teach you to abstain. It gives you a free condom. That's what it gives you. It tells you not to get pregnant. That's what it teaches. I've read their book. We're teaching young people today in schools and even in their families that it's okay now to be heterosexual or homosexual or whatever sexual it is. Just be some sexual thing. When's the last time you heard anybody in schools teach and preach, and even in churches, to abstain that which is evil? To save yourself for the beautiful thing called marriage. But you see, it's just like viper eggs. They're everywhere around us. They're laying upon us. Pornography is everywhere in our society. Everywhere.
Pornography, the biggest evil ever. It offends my morality as a Christian. Why does nobody ever fire back and say, hey, wait a second, the same book that says be fruitful and multiply is somehow anti-sexuality? But how do you get to the point where you are fruitful and you multiply? You don't get there by playing Parcheesi. You get there by fucking. Sorry to burst your bubble there, buddy. I can't say, like an anti-porn stance, that is, you're going to lose that argument 110 times out of 100. Because who's on the side of like, be more repressed and be more pissed off? That's what I'm in favor of. Whereas liberals and progressives say what? Just do whatever the fuck you want to do as long as you're not hurting anybody else. Is that the crazy position? No, that's the position that makes sense. So I don't even get the visceral hatred of pornography where they say, it's immoral. What the fuck does that have to do with morality? Consenting people having some fun behind closed doors? Fuck off. And these same guys that say, oh, we hate big government. Unless, of course, it's stopping people from fucking, from pleasure fucking and looking at pornography. Then we love big government. That's the biggest government I can imagine, getting in people's private lives like that. And here's how I'd frame his other point. So he's saying, well, sex education and pornography is the equivalent of letting your kids play with poisonous snakes. Yeah, definitely. Here's what I would say to him. Do you want less abortions and less out-of-wedlock births and fewer single mothers? And how would he respond? He'd have to say yes, because that's his whole main thing. He talks about that all the time. This is what the far right does all the time. That's their main talking points are those things. So then you say, okay, great, then you are for contraception. You're for the pill, you're for condom use, you're for sex education. You want to know why I say that? Because if you really want to bring down those things, you want less abortions, you want fewer out-of-wedlock births and fewer single mothers, then you would be in favor of those things because we know they work. It's a fact. It's a fact. It's called a study. Look into it. Various studies have proven that. And finally, I'll leave you with the point I always make when talking about guys like this. He's so concerned about morality, but I don't want to hear another fucking peep about morality out of your mouth until I hear you stand up and talk about war and poverty. Don't talk to me about pornography. Don't talk to me about any of those other silly issues you bring up, sex education being immoral. Shut the fuck up unless or until you stand up and talk about, we got to get out of Afghanistan, we got to get out of Iraq, we got to stop being involved in wars and doing imperialism. That's immoral, that's unethical. Jesus would not like those things. And we got to fix poverty. Poverty is a plague, is a scourge, and Jesus would want to fight all of this poverty. Don't talk about morality until you talk about those things first, but you won't do it.